Welcome back to Undefendable. We are hopping into a Shadow Thief Play Like a Pro guide, so go ahead and stay tuned and enjoy. On to Shadow Thief. If you like long setups, massive hands, and killing people in 2 turns while taking 0 damage back, Shadow Thief is likely your hero. Shadow Thief is a late game economy and control monster. Weak early, absolutely terrifying late. Built around poison, shadows, and sneak attack tokens. Very tricky to play well because almost every decision is about tempo and future value. The core identity of Shadow Thief: early game you want to build CP, build card hand or build hand strength, stack poison, and survive. Mid game, lock in Shadows access, which is your key, one of your key tokens. And then upgrade key economy abilities. And then late game, you're going to want to land those big straights or your ultimate with massive CP, poison, and sneak attack for 15 to 20 plus damage in 2 turns while denying your opponent any meaningful attacks. Going over Shadow Thief's leaflet, Shadows, a player with this token avoids damage, right? Prevents all damage from an attack when used. Best defensive effect in the game can be gained from defense, some of your offensive roll phases, and some of his or her unique cards. And then late game with dice mods, he can almost always hide in shadows if he really wants to. Absolutely obnoxious. I hate it, but I love it. Sneak attack is just extra damage when you attack, often stronger than a normal defensive roll. But you want to use it regularly so you can generate more because you can only have 1 at a time. And then lastly, poison, damage over time, and that can stack up to 3. You want this on your opponent as early and often as possible. A good goal is 15 plus damage for poison over a full game. So Shadow Thief's power is not just his base board, but it is his token engines plus his huge economy. Shadow Thief's dice anatomy is 2 daggers, 2 bags, card, and shadow. So 2-2-1-1 facing dice anatomy, which can be a little bit tricky for some of his rolls, but a lot of his rolls are relatively forgiving. Going over Shadow Thief's abilities, the basic is Dagger Strike for 4-6-8. If you have a bag or a shadow was rolled, gain 1 CP or inflict a poison. The small straight is you gain 3 CP, then deal half CP as damage. Pickpocket is a bunch of bags. You gain CP based on how many bags you roll, but if you roll a 6 with it, you can steal a CP from your opponent. The large straight is absolutely nasty as you build up your CP. You gain 3 CP, then deal CP as damage. Shadow Dance is kind of like a mini ult, but you only need to do 3 of the 6s. You roll 1, deal half the value as damage, pure damage. Then you gain shadows and sneak attack. And then Cardicopia. This is your draw card engine. Draw 1 card for however many 5s you roll. Now, one unique thing about Shadow Thief is you have 2 options of your defense. Counterstrike, you hit your opponent back with every dagger you roll for damage. And then if you roll a dagger and a 6, you inflict a poison. And then Shadow Defense. You can inflict a poison, gain a sneak attack, or gain sneak attack and shadows immediately, which would ignore incoming damage. General game plan for Shadow Thief, it doesn't really have like a single linear path. He really has phases. So in the early game, it's all about survival and setup. You're going to want to build cards with Cardicopia, build CP with Pickpocket and Shifty Strike, and then stack poisons as early as possible on your opponent. Save your dice mods for survival. Use them to either gain shadows so that you avoid damage or cause your opponent to whiff. Do not burn 6-it and so wild for a few extra early game damage. Save those dice mods. Mid game, this is where you start to lock in and start to control. You want to get the Cardicopia upgrade if you can find it, the Pickpocket upgrade if possible, and then the Shadow Defense upgrade if possible. Focus on reliable access to getting into the shadows to avoid damage, and then constant poison uptime We want to make sure that opponent in the mid game is feeling those poisons and taking that damage. A healthy CP pool while still cycling cards is going to be really valuable. So you want to start getting that CP up while you're building those cards as well. Now, once you start moving into the late game, this is where you start to get to about 12 to 15 CP. You have multiple dice mods in your hand and you've seen just a lot of cards. So your game plan here is to start chaining your big straights or your shadow shanks from the upgrade that you can get. So, sorry, your ultimate, not the upgrade. So this is where in that late game you start doing your large straight, or you start doing your shadow shank ultimate. So you're combining your sneak attacks, your poisons, and your maxed out CP for just huge bursts of damage. And then you're using shadows and dice mods to avoid basically anything meaningful that your opponent can do. Key principles: build hand before you build CP. Early cornucopias over everything, right? This is going to be your early game. You want to build that hand up, find your dice mods. Once you have found several dice mods, that's where you start pivoting to your CP focus and gaining your CP. Sell aggressively. Many unique cards and upgrades are better as CP once you are entering the damage phase. You don't need to hold on to all of your cards. You can sell aggressively to get your CP up to 12 or 15 as quickly as possible. And then lastly, use shadow defense unless you really need to use Counter-Strike. Shadows plus sneak attack plus poison is usually way more value than just raw defensive damage. As for the upgrades that I recommend, always upgrade your dagger strike. It's literally 0 CP and just worth the upgrade. Next one I'm going to recommend is your shadow defense. Absolutely worth it in the early and mid game. Gives you access to that 5th die, which just makes it that much more consistent. Pickpocket is a very easy one to justify. It pays for itself quickly and is very strong in the early to mid game. Cornucopia is easily your best upgrade at basically any stage of the game. Draw a card. If you roll a 6 was rolled, your opponent discards a card. If a bag was rolled, gain a CP. Extremely valuable, extremely strong. And those are going to be the upgrades that I would recommend when you are playing Shadow Thief. Matchup wise, Shadow Thief is going to be strong, and Shadow Thief loves other build-up or control heroes like Huntress, Paladin, Loki, Treant. Shadow Thief loves defensive characters who plan to win by stalling. He just out-economies them, then wins with his ultimate in big straights because he just does that much damage. He's strong when he's given time to reach his late game state, and he can roll defensives most turns and leverage the shadows. So that's what he really likes to play against. He can be weak against high early damage per roll or heavy undefendable damage heroes like Pyromancer, Artificer, Ninja, rushdown characters like Monk if you're going offensively, or the Barbarian even. Anyone who can kill him before his shadow loop is online. So he's going to be weak when he is forced into short games and he cannot safely roll or leverage his defensive engines and find all the cards and CP he needs to get online. And then lastly, a couple of quick roll attempts. This one's relatively easy. Early game, you're just looking for Cornucopia. That's really what you're looking for. And if you can't find it, you're looking for Pickpocket. There you go. We already found it. Let's go one more. That would be an amazing first roll. We would literally draw 4 cards if we don't have the upgrade, which is just going to get us set up for a lot of success. We're going to be gaining CP from selling those cards, so on and so forth. So you're basically just going to be cycling Cornucopia. I mean, there it is again. Just absolutely amazing. Oh man, we got it. We got it again. So oh jeez. So at this point, we've probably found all of our dice mods, and hopefully we've inflicted a poison or so on our opponent from our defense. We've now drawn literally 9 cards, and we're probably going to be going into that mid game where we have several mods in our hand. We're getting close to 10 to 12 CP, and this is where we start finding those shadows, finding those dice mods to save ourselves, and then push for the ultimate. Going into the late game, we're going to want to be looking for, again, wild shadows, which is another dice mod, twice as wild and 6 hits to force large straights or to force shadow shanks and just do a ton of damage. So at this point, we'd have like 12 CP and a couple of dice mods. So we go here, and even still, I would throw that back. Yeah, boom, we get that. We'd spend our twice as wild. They might mod us or tip it down here. We'd tip it right back, and we'd use that. So we'd be at like 9 CP, but this would get us back. So we'd be at like 9. Then we'd get the alt off. We'd gain 3, so we'd do 12. We'd go into the shadows, then deal another 12 damage plus 5. So that is 17 damage right there. We probably are going to have a sneak attack at that point, which is going to add 3 damage. I believe that's 3. Yeah, so that's 20 damage right there. Literally what we just talked about. And that's how you play Shadow Thief. Thanks for watching. Thank you so much for watching. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Everything helps. Really love seeing those comments in there. It makes my day. And we'll chat with you next time. Have a good one.